Okay, I'm gonna attempt a lap guide for week 1, or for Suzuka. So turn 1 and 2 are basically the same turn. Turn 1 is just the setup for the exit of 2 into the S's. The S's is constant compromise. There's no need to get a good there's no need to get a good entry or exit to any of them other than the last one, but you need to maintain speed throughout. Then we come into the Degners. Third gear for the first one, second gear for the second one, cutting both apexes a little bit. The hairpin, braking on the apex of the right hand kink before it, down to first. And here we can cut this inside where the chicane is quite a bit. Braking down to second gear for spoon. Down to 130R, braking on the 100, down to 4th. Get up on top of that curb. Let the car wash all the way out to the right. Down to first for the Casio triangle. Cut the curb a little bit on the entry and the middle apex. Right, let's go for a faster lap. Or try at least. A little bit wide on the exit of the triangle there. Overall, not a bad lap. In this default late afternoon session, 50% track state, I think high 201s, maybe mid 201s would be good solid race pace. So let's hop out of the car and have a look at that lap. So heading into turn 1. braking on the white line. It's very faint there just before it, but when you're in the car, it feels like you are on the line when you brake. So then I'll slow it down. Already down into third at this point, and just lightly braking. And then just applying a little bit more brake when I feel the car isn't slowing down or isn't turning in enough. All the way down into second, and then I'm starting to get back on the throttle, and then fully back on the throttle as I head away from the apex. So then we're coming into the start of the S's, which is just compromise, 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 compromise all the way through. So we get out to the right, and then here we don't run all the way out to the left on the exit, but at the same time you don't really need to get all the way out to the right to set up the next one either. So you just kind of almost head straight from one apex to the next apex and just very slightly set the car up. So here, no need to stay. A lot of people will come all the way left here and then try and straighten out this second to last S. But there really doesn't feel like there's any need to do that to me, because you just brake and turn left again, so there's no reason to set yourself up for a really good run out of there. Unless you're planning on making a move, which is kind of doable in the Audi. Maybe if you're catching a slower driver, you could possibly get a good run here and send it up the inside into the left. But they're going to have to... that's a risky kind of move. So here again, we don't really run out much past the middle of the track. And then this one is the final turn of the S's. So you can set this one up a little bit more. Get the car over to the right. And then there's kind of a triple apex in my mind. So hit the first one. And then there's this one we don't really want to hit. We just want to be somewhere in the middle of the road. And then there's the final apex here, which you want to be back on the inside of the track to set up the Degners. Then we're braking between the 100 and the 50, so the imaginary 75 board, down to third, and you can cut this curb quite a bit. Don't run too far wide here, it's very bumpy. I think I did catch the bumps slightly on my fast lap, just a little bit. Down into second gear, cut that. You can cut that apex. I missed it a little bit on this lap. And then braking as you apex the kink, and then properly braking once you're out of. So what I mean by that is, if we look at it in slow motion, I've lifted, and then just a little bit of brake, 20%, 15%, just to start slowing the car down. And then I'm increasing the brake pressure up to around 50%, like fully braking. Down through the gears to first gear. Hug the apex, and then as soon as you can start straightening up, you want to start heading for the outside curb and get back on the throttle as soon as you can. So I'm already half throttle at this point, and then 90%, and then as soon as I'm straight and I can, don't need to turn anymore, back to 100% throttle. Get the car over to the left, and then here you can cut this part of the west layout chicane. You can cut across that grass there, which really helps because the car wants to wash out left. So really helps you avoid that. So we're full throttle, just a little lift every so often, just to... The way I set my car up is to turn off throttle quite a lot. So other people probably be maybe dabbing the brake here, and I'll be lifting instead. So then setting up the entry into spoon, you brake just before this little access path. Let the car run all the way out to that curb. You don't want to run past the end of it because I think that's an off track. And then we're just lightly braking to set up the exit here, back on the throttle. I won't be fully back on throttle until I can see maybe the exit curb. There's something that sort of catches my eye over that far side of the track that kind of... You want to pick a reference, so figure something out that works for you. Might be the start of that. You see the start of the white barriers as opposed to the red and white barriers. I think once I can see that is when I start to get back on the throttle. So then we head down to 130R. And for me, there's a defined braking point and turning in point. And it becomes kind of natural once you've practiced enough. So we brake on the 100. And then turn in where that little kind of... where the barrier kinks towards the 50. So let's call that the 60, maybe? Just before the 50. That's where we start to turn in, get up on top of the curb, and let the car run wide. Now this outside edge of the curb here actually kind of holds the car a little bit of a berm to it. So it can unsettle the car, so you have to be a little bit careful there. And we get the car back over to the right, braking sort of that's 150, so probably 110 or 115, just before the 100. Down to first gear, you can cut these apexes. Try and keep the car over to the right, but without losing too much speed. And then cut that apex. This is where I made the mistake. So the car wasn't rotated enough, and I got back on. I think I got back on throttle mid. Yeah. I think I felt like I was not going fast enough here, so I got back on the throttle mid apexes and really messed myself up on the exit. And that's why the car doesn't rotate enough there. So I ended up running wide. Cost me 3 or 4 tenths. And that's a lap of Suzuka. So hopefully something in the guide is helpful. I'll try and do these every week. Especially if anyone's finding them useful. So yeah, I think that's about it. Yeah, thanks.